Greetings. My name is Dr. Michael Averett, and I am the professor of trumpet at Washburn University. What you just heard is the opening excerpt, measures 5 through 21, of this year's Kansas All-State audition piece for trumpet. This piece is Petite Piece Concertante by Guillaume Bellet, arranged by Forrest Buchtel. There are multiple arrangements of this piece, so please make sure that when you purchase the piece, that you have the correct arrangement. I want to start with a couple basics of how to do a successful all-state audition. First, we want to make sure that we do good trumpet playing. Good trumpet playing starts with good posture, standing up straight, or sitting on the edge of our chair and sitting up straight. We want to have a good breath. We want to make sure that when we breathe in and we expand. We breathe low, we expand, we breathe out, and we get smaller. We breathe in, we get bigger. We breathe out, we get smaller. Make sure you don't suck the air in like that and get smaller when you breathe. Always bigger when we breathe, full of air. Next, we want to play with a good sound. Posture and good air will help you play with a good sound. We want a nice, full, characteristic sound of the trumpet. Listening to recordings of the trumpet will help you develop this sound. Next, we want to play with good, clear articulations. This piece doesn't require any multiple tonguing, which would be a double tongue or a triple tongue. It only requires single tonguing and slurring. So we want to make sure when we single tongue that we produce a nice, clear sound. We want to use the word ta when we tongue. Ta, 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 ta. Next, we want to play the ink. If you haven't heard that term before, playing the ink means playing exactly what the composer wrote on the music. So for starters, we notice that the tempo is andante, and he writes in quarter note equals 72. We want to make sure and follow this metronome mark. We can go a little bit slower or a little bit faster, but we want to be really close to this tempo. A good way to be close to this tempo is practice this with a metronome. Practice it a lot with a metronome at a quarter note equals 72, so that when you play in front of people, you will have that tempo ingrained. Finally, I want you to pay close attention to the dynamics. Notice measure 5 is piano. Measure 15 has a crescendo. Measure 17 has a forte. Measure 19 goes back to piano. So we want to play exactly the dynamics that the composer and the arranger put in the music. The judges will be listening for these dynamics. We also, going back to the metronome, want to play with good time. We don't want our time to be slowing down, speeding up, slowing down, speeding up. We want to play right in time. And finally, take a look at measure 20. Measure 20 has a D sharp, a C sharp, an F sharp, an A, and then a G sharp. These notes aren't part of the key signature of 4 flats. So pay close attention to this. When you get to this measure, you're going to notice that it sounds very different than the other measures that you've been playing. To help develop this, play these notes and make sure you can hear them. Make sure you can hear them. Make sure you can sing them. Make sure you can sing them. Make sure you can buzz them. We want to make sure that this tonal change by the composer is heard by us, the player. For good trumpet playing to happen, we have to hear the notes before we play them. To hear the notes before we play them, we have to spend time working through the music, making sure we can sing the notes or buzz the notes on the mouthpiece. So pay close attention and pay careful attention to doing this. Listen again as I play measures 5 through 21, and listen for the things that I've just mentioned. So what you just heard is the second excerpt. This is measures 26 through 33. Like the first excerpt, we want to pay attention to the same things. Tempo, time. We want to play with a metronome. We want to practice with a metronome. And we want to make sure that we play with good time that stays the same. We don't want to speed up. We don't want to slow down. We want to pay close attention to the dynamics. Notice it starts at a forte. And this is a little bit lower in the register. So we want a nice full sound as we start in measure 26. In measure 30, we go to fortissimo, so we get even louder. In measure 31, we go to mezzo forte. Measure 32, piano. Measure 33, pianissimo. So notice those last four measures: 30, fortissimo; 31, mezzo forte; 32, piano; 33, pianissimo. So we want to make sure we get softer and softer and softer each of these measures. Also notice the rhythm. The rhythm in measure 30 and 31 is the same. The rhythm in measure 32 changes. A lot of high school players will mistakenly play the wrong rhythm. In measure 32, they will play the same rhythm that they played in measure 30 and measure 31. Make sure you play the right rhythm. The composer is purposely writing measure 32 to be twice as slow as the two previous measures. In music theory, we would call this an agogic deceleration. I know that's a really big term. It's just a fancy way to say that he wants the music to slow down without the tempo slowing down. So make sure you play the right rhythm here. Also, notice in measure 26 that you'll see the word fumoso. Anytime you have these Italian terms in your music, take out your phone and Google them. Make sure you know the translations of these terms because they're a roadmap for how you play the music. Fumoso means more motion or a little more motion. And so fumoso is basically going to be translated into quicker, a little faster, a little quicker, a little more motion. So we are playing that a tad bit faster than we played the first excerpt. Now don't go crazy and play it a lot faster, just a little bit faster. Listen again as I play the second excerpt and see if you can hear these things in the music. The excerpt you just heard is the third excerpt from this year's Kansas Trumpet All-State audition. It's measures 36 through 58. Always check the measure numbers on the website for the audition that you're taking. These excerpts are from the All-State list. Sometimes All-District will use different measure numbers, so make sure that you're following and playing the correct amount of measures and the correct measures. Like the other excerpts, this excerpt requires you to read the ink. Make sure you are playing the right rhythms and the right dynamics. In measure 36, we have piano. In measure 43, pianissimo. In measure 46, we start to crescendo. In measure 48, we're playing forte. In measure 51, we're up to fortissimo. In measure 52, 53, 54, we stay at fortissimo. And then in measure 55, we're back to piano. And then in measure 57, we're all the way down to pianissimo. This is very difficult for a brass instrument because in 10 measures, we're going from our very softest to our very loudest, back down to our very softest. To do this well, you need to practice this. You need to practice soft playing, and you need to practice loud playing. You need to practice how well you can play comfortably with your best sound soft, and how well you can play comfortably with your best sound loud. You will only improve this dynamic window or this dynamic range by practicing. In measure 36, make sure to play the correct rhythm. It is an eighth note followed by 6 16th notes. A way to practice this is to just play the rhythm on one note. What I'm doing is I'm just playing the rhythm without playing the notes and without playing the articulations. I will do that for a while to get really, really comfortable with the rhythm. Next, I might play the notes that are written, but without the first slur, so I can really internalize the rhythm of that measure and play the correct rhythm. I can't stress enough that as you prepare for all district and all state, you need more tools in your tool bag than repetition. Many students will simply rely on playing the same excerpt over and over and over and over again to get better. But notice, we're going to work on our soft playing, our loud playing. We're going to work on isolated rhythms. We're going to listen to recordings. We're going to sing difficult passages to hear, buzz difficult passages to hear. We're going to look up some of the terms in our dictionary online so that we know the directions in the music. Another tool you can do is establish what key you're playing in. This first page has 4 flats. What key do you think we're in? If you said F minor, you're correct. The whole first page is in the key of F minor. You'll notice later in measure 66, the key changes and goes to F major. I suggest practicing both F minor and F major to get good at playing these 2 scales and to help understand the key that you're playing in. To play F major, we should already know that. That's 1 flat, B flat, and we play from F to F. To play F minor, we play from F to F again, but this time we play with the 4 flats that are in the key signature. Practice these scales and use all of these other practice techniques so that you're not simply just repeating the notes again and again and again and again and hoping that it gets better. Listen again as I play measures 36 through measures 58 and see if you can identify these things that I've been discussing. The next excerpt is the 4th and final excerpt from this year's trumpet audition piece. This excerpt is unlike the first 3 excerpts because it is in F major, whereas the other 3 excerpts are in F minor. A couple notes with this excerpt. Notice we have a tempo change. If we're reading the ink, we now have a quarter note equals 112. This is faster, but it's not very fast. So don't play too fast. Most students I hear see all the 16th notes in this excerpt, and they play way too fast. It's easy to get excited, it's easy to get carried away, and want to play really fast, especially when we see sextuplets at the end. But take your time. This is not a really fast excerpt. To practice this excerpt, again, read the ink. Notice the turn. If you go all the way back before the excerpt to measure 66, you will notice that the tempo change happens, and it says march moderato. This means it's a moderate march. So again, moderate means don't go too fast. To practice this excerpt, use a metronome. The biggest skill that you're going to need in this excerpt is single tonguing. To practice your single tonguing, turn a metronome on quarter note equals 112 and practice 16th notes. If you can play 16th notes at a quarter note equals 112, then this excerpt will be fairly easy for you. If you struggle to play 16th notes at quarter note equals 112, this excerpt will be very difficult. Like we mentioned in the other excerpts, have more tools in your toolbox than just repetition. Practice your single tongue. This will make you a better trumpet player, and it will improve your all-state results. Before you listen to the final excerpt, I would like to thank you for tuning in and watching this video. If you have any further questions, or you would like to contact me, feel free to send me an email or give me a phone call. You'll see my information listed at the very end of this video. Just a reminder, remember to play with all the things that we've talked about in this video. Good posture, good breathing, a good sound, a nice clear articulation, saying the word ta. We want to read the ink, know all the terms, follow the dynamics, play with the metronome so that we have good time. Finally, make sure we have more tools in our tool belt than just repetition. Listen to recordings. Listen to the entire piece. Listen to it with piano accompaniment. Practice your scales so you understand the key that the piece is in. Practice hearing pitches and hearing intervals and hearing the melody. Be able to sing them back or buzz them back on your mouthpiece so that they're in your ear. Remember, to play something, we first need to hear it. Practice rhythms. Practice single tonguing on your own away from the piece. Practice your dynamics. Do all of these things to help improve your trumpet playing. You'll become a better trumpet player, and you'll become better at the all-state piece. Also, practice in small chunks. Not small chunks of time, but small chunks of music. We want to practice really well with a high level of mastery. So practice 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 measures at a time. And don't leave the practice room until you've mastered those few measures. It might only be 1 or 2 measures a day that you feel like you can master. But go slowly and methodically. This will develop incredible technique and really great trumpet playing. If you go sloppy and you try and take it up to tempo before you're ready, or play too much too soon, it's going to be sloppy. And sloppy practice leads to sloppy trumpet playing. Masterful practice, precise practice leads to precise trumpet playing. So take your time. Be patient. Do a little bit at a time. And in a matter of weeks, you'll have learned the entire piece really, really well. And when you go to perform and you get a little bit nervous, it'll be there and it'll sound really, really great. Thanks again for tuning in. And here's the final excerpt.